Which is better, the Google Pixel 6a or the Samsung Galaxy A53 5G? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. Now, these two phones in the US are considered to be top competitors, and that's mostly because they have the same MSRP at $449. However, I definitely think it's worth considering what carrier discounts are currently being offered. Now, I'm not sure which carriers the Pixel 6a is gonna be at, considering this phone recently launched, but the Galaxy A53 5G has been out since March of 2022, and you can get this phone for a fraction of the MSRP if you do end up getting it through a carrier. For example, at Cricket Wireless, if you're a current customer and you just want to upgrade your phone, you can get the Galaxy A53 5G for just $350. And I'm sure the deals are pretty similar at other carriers as well. Now, I hope that the Pixel 6a also gets those same types of deals, but I guess my point is that when you see a lot of people mentioning that these two phones are the same price and they compare them based on that, you have to keep in mind that in the real world, the majority of people that actually buy the Galaxy A53 are not paying the full price for this phone. So what I recommend doing is taking a look at the various links in the video description so that you can see what these two phones are currently being offered at, so that can better help you decide which one to go for. Now, these two devices have many similarities, but also a lot of differences, and I'm looking forward to going through all of that throughout this video, so definitely stay tuned. Now, with the Pixel 6a, this device has a 6.1-inch display, so it is a bit smaller than the Galaxy A53 5G, which is a larger 6.5-inch display. And you can see, when holding the two phones up next to each other, the Galaxy A53 is certainly the larger phone of the two. Now, in addition to that, there are some other differences with the displays that we're getting here. So with the Pixel 6a, we have an OLED display that runs at 60 Hz, whereas with the Galaxy A53, we have a Super AMOLED display that runs at 120 Hz. Now, with that faster refresh rate, things do look really smooth here, so it definitely gives the phone a very premium feel, but at the same time, Google has done a very nice job with the display that we're getting with the Pixel 6a, so even though it is just 60 Hz, things do run really smoothly here, so I definitely don't consider it really a downside necessarily, but on the other hand, it's certainly not a bad thing that we're getting 120 Hz here with the Galaxy A53. Now, beyond that, both of these phones do feature 1080p displays. With the Pixel 6a, we're getting a PPI 429 versus a PPI 405 with the Galaxy A53. Both phones have 20:9 aspect ratios, so a more narrow but taller form factor, which really makes these phones ideal for social media. And we're getting an 83% screen-to-body ratio with the Pixel 6a, compared to a slightly better 85.4% screen-to-body ratio with the Galaxy A53. So both phones have very small bezels all throughout. You can see that the bottom bezels are slightly thicker compared to the others, but overall, both phones have a really good design and layout here. Now, another awesome thing about these displays is that not only are they very bright and colors look very good, but they also have very good viewing angles. So that's definitely due to these phones both having really nice display panels. Now, for the front cameras, both of these phones do feature hole punches, which is a nice form factor. Definitely a fan of the way they've implemented that. It does seem like the hole punch is a bit smaller with the Samsung compared to the Pixel phone, but overall, it's not really a huge difference. And then with the Pixel, we're getting 8 megapixels for the front camera, whereas we're getting 32 megapixels for the front camera on the Galaxy. And then with both of these phones, we do have base configurations of 128 gigabytes. However, with the Pixel 6a, there is no microSD card expansion, whereas with the Galaxy A53, we do have microSD card expansion. Now, neither of these two phones feature wireless charging, which is a bit disappointing. However, they do both feature in-display fingerprint sensors. So let's give that a try, starting off here with the Pixel. So we'll try this right now. Nice and accurate. We'll try that one more time. Very good. Let's try that out with the Galaxy. Nice and quick. One more time. So very accurate. So I'm definitely a big fan of the fingerprint sensors on both of these phones, as they both do work really well. Now, one unfortunate difference though is that there is no face unlock with the Pixel 6a, but we do have face unlock with the Galaxy A53. So I do appreciate having an additional method and option here for accessing the phone, and I certainly wish that they did implement that here with the Pixel 6a. Now, as far as RAM and processor go, both of these phones do feature 6 gigabytes of RAM, however, the processors are different. So with the Pixel 6a, we have the Google Tensor processor, and then with the Galaxy A53, we have the Samsung Exynos 1280. Now, unfortunately, at the time of me recording this video, Geekbench 5, which is my favorite benchmarking test app, is not available for the Pixel 6a, so I don't know the scores for this phone, but from my experience of using both of these devices, without a doubt, the Pixel is the faster phone of the two. Overall, probably the biggest disappointment with the Galaxy A53 is that the processor could have been a lot better than it is. Now, thankfully, it's still perfectly usable. It's not like this phone won't work by any means, but if you compare it to what we're getting here with the Pixel, with that Tensor processor, things are certainly a lot better here. So that's certainly one of the biggest advantages that this phone has over the Galaxy A53. That being said though, I'm not sure if the processor is necessarily a complete deal breaker, but it certainly is weaker in comparison to what we're getting here with the Pixel. Now, both of these phones certainly have quite a few cameras. I already talked about the front cameras on them, but taking a look at the rear camera configurations, we have a dual camera setup with the Pixel 6a, whereas we have a quad camera setup with the Galaxy A53. Now with the Pixel 6a, we have a 12.2 megapixel main camera and a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and then with the Galaxy A53, we have a 64 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode, and a 5 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. So even though with the Samsung we have more cameras, it's not like we're really getting that many additional features out of those cameras. For example, the depth sensing camera is pretty pointless because the Pixel 6a also has portrait mode, but doesn't need a depth sensing camera to achieve that. So it's not like you're really getting any extra abilities by having that extra camera here with the Galaxy A53. And as far as the macro camera goes, sure, there is no macro camera with the Pixel 6a. However, you can always zoom in a little bit. I mean, it's not necessarily as good, so it's certainly nice to at least have the macro camera with the A53, but it's not like by not having a macro camera, it's really that big of a deal. I mean, at least for me it's not, and most other people I don't think it is either. So, I mean, if you really want a macro camera, go ahead, go for the Samsung, but I'm not sure if that's really that important of a feature for many people out there. Now here's how things look on the camera app on both devices. This is the main cameras right here. Then from there, we can switch over to the ultra wide angle cameras, and you can see that things are a bit wider here with the Samsung in comparison, but we can fit a lot more content into the frame. Then from there, we can head over to portrait mode on both phones so we can get those nice blurred out backgrounds that I know that everybody's a big fan of. And we can also flip around to the front facing cameras and do the same thing. So there's me right there. We also have options on both phones to do a group selfie, which is pretty nice. So it does crop things out slightly. And if you want to, you can take standard selfies too that don't have the blurred out backgrounds. Now, of course, with the Samsung, you can head over to the More tab to access that macro camera. And then with that camera, you can get very close up here and have things be in really good detail. So again, I'm not sure how important that feature is necessarily, but the good news is that with both of these phones, we get a lot of different photography features. And I would say in general, you should expect to get better photo quality with the Pixel 6a, mostly due to the higher quality sensors that it does have, but also because the Google Tensor processor has a lot of machine learning built into it, which is supposed to assist with the computational photography on this device. Now with both of these phones, video recording with the rear cameras maxes out at 4K. However, this is a bit unfortunate. There is no 4K video recording with the front-facing camera on the Pixel 6a. It's only 1080p, whereas with the Galaxy A53, we do get 4K video recording with the front camera. So I'm not sure if that's a big deal for pretty much anybody, but if it does matter to you, then keep that in mind. Now, as far as battery capacity goes, we do have a smaller battery here, the Pixel 6a, at 4,410 milliamp hours, whereas with the Galaxy A53, we have a larger 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery. And then also with the Pixel 6a, charging does max out at 18 watts, whereas the Galaxy A53 supports 25 watt fast charging. So not only does this phone have a larger battery, but you can recharge it at a much faster rate. Now the software with both of these phones is Android 12. We're getting the Pixel experience here with the Pixel 6a, whereas with the Galaxy A53, we're getting Samsung's One UI 4.1. Now if you've used any Samsung device anytime recently, the experience here will definitely be very familiar, but at the same time, there really isn't much of a learning curve with the Pixel 6a, as the experience here is pretty simple and straightforward. Now both of these phones do support NFC, which is really awesome. So if you do like to make mobile contactless payments using tap and pay, you can do that here with either of these two phones. But now that we've gone over the major features and specifications of these two devices, let's take a closer look at the hardware. Now both phones do feature plastic on the back panels of them, but at the same time, they do both look and feel very premium. So both companies have done the most that they possibly could with these materials. So in general, I really like the implementation, and I think they're both very stylish handsets. That being said though, I do think the Pixel does look a bit more unique, especially compared to phones from other companies as well. So I really do like this design quite a bit, and it's definitely very inspired by the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. On the other hand though, I do like how the material on the back of the Galaxy A53 doesn't really pick up any fingerprints at all. Now taking a look at the left side of both devices, on the Pixel we have the slot for the SIM card. Then taking a look at the right side of both phones, on the Pixel we have the power button, volume up and volume down. And then on the Galaxy, we have volume up, volume down, and then also the power button here. Then up top here in both phones, they both have noise canceling microphones. And then on the bottom of the two devices, on the Pixel, we have the microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. And then on the Galaxy, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card, microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and we have the speaker. Now, unfortunately, neither of these two phones have 3.5mm headphone jacks, so if you do like to listen to music using wired headphones, you are gonna have to get an adapter. And then on the back of these two phones, we have the camera modules, flash, and then the logos from the two companies. So in conclusion, which of these two phones is the better choice of the two? Now, with the Pixel 6a, I definitely think this phone is the most powerful phone of the two by far. So in that department, this phone is a better choice. And I think this phone does a much better job with photography as far as using machine learning to create really good looking photos. So if you want to take, for example, excellent nighttime pictures, the Pixel 6a is by far a much better choice. So certainly keep that in mind. Now, there's certainly some downsides though with the Pixel 6a as well. I would say the display is not as good as what we're getting here with the Galaxy. Also, it's disappointing that there is no microSD card expansion, which we do have here with the Galaxy. There's also no 4K video recording with the front camera, which we have here with the Samsung. And then also that refresh rate at 120 Hz is a lot better than the standard 60 Hz that we're getting with the Pixel. And then the last thing to consider is that Samsung does tend to offer very generous discounts and promotions on their phones, whether you're trading in a device via Samsung's store, or if you're just going to your favorite carrier and wanting to get a deal, whether you're switching in or just upgrading. I think with the Galaxy A53, you're probably going to tend to find better deals compared to the Pixel, but at the same time, who knows, maybe the Pixel will have really good deals as well being offered. So definitely take a look at all the various links in the video description so that you can further see what your options are and what these two phones are being offered at the time that you're looking to get them. But overall, I think these are great handsets from excellent companies, and you'll definitely be happy no matter which one you go for. But this concludes my comparison of the Google Pixel 6a versus the Samsung Galaxy A53 5G. I am part of Team Pixel, and this phone is a gift from Google, so keep that in mind. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks again for supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.